Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department's Septic 101 workshop. I see we got folks rolling in. It's a little bit before 6. We're probably not going to really start until around 6:02. But you are at Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department's Septic 101 workshop tonight for homeowners to learn about your septic systems, operation and maintenance, how septic systems work, learning how to landscape around the drain field. We're going to cover all of that. We have 3 different presentations of folks who will be talking this evening. Um, you should be able to put questions in the chat. If you have questions specifically about a presentation or a slide that you're looking at, we might stop and answer it right then and there. We also are going to save some time at the end, though, for some general questions with all the presenters, about 15 minutes or so. Again, we'll get going here in just a few minutes, but it's the Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department Septic 101 workshop. We're going to hear first from Amber Peralta about the benefits of operation and maintenance to your septic system. Then Robert Suggs is going to be talking about how septic systems work. Then we're going to have Paul Cushy come in and talk about learning how to landscape your drain fields. Each of those presentations are going to be 10-15 minutes or so. We're going to save about 15 minutes at the end to try to answer some questions about all sorts of things. Any questions you got about septic systems in general, about landscaping around your septic system, anything that you don't hear in the presentation, we'll try to address at the end. Again, this meeting is scheduled to go until 7. We probably won't stick around much longer after that, but we'll try to answer as many questions as we can during that time. I do want to say, now that we've got a few more folks in the room, we are recording this as well. We're going to post it on our website. So just wanted to give everyone a heads up. If you're okay with that, hang in here with us. If not, you're more than welcome to leave, but we want to keep you to stick around. This way folks can see that down the road we'll be able to continue to watch this event. So I'm going to get us going here so we can keep to our schedule, because again, we got a full schedule today. We have 3 presentations. The first one's going to be about 10 minutes about the benefits of operations and maintenance. Amber Peralta will be talking about that, and then we'll hand off to Bob Suggs. Gets about 15-20 minutes or so to talk about how septic systems work, and then we'll finish again with Paul Cushy talking about how to landscape, the best way to landscape around your drain field, and talking about, he's a master gardener, so he'll be giving us all sorts of tips. And then again, we'll save about 10 or 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. If you have questions about anything specifically to a presentation you're watching, put it in the chat. I'll try to ask some of our presenters in between, but then we'll save all those general questions for the end. So with that, Amber, if you would want to start sharing your slides and kick us off. Again, Amber Peralta is here. She works at Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department. She's going to be talking about the benefits of septic operation and maintenance. I'll hand it off to you, Amber. Although, Amber, you're muted, so we're not hearing you. You probably need to unmute yourself.
There we go. Now I'm on board. Okay. Okay, so, well, thanks for joining us, everyone. So we're going to talk about the benefits of septic maintenance and operation and maintenance. And so the question is, why maintain and inspect your septic system? We want to make sure that your septic system is operating properly, as it was originally intended and designed. The septic system you have now is the cheapest septic you will ever own, and we want you to protect your investment. And you also get the most life out of your system when it is regularly inspected and maintained. Regular inspections help find and correct small problems before they become major problems. This can save you money long-term by avoiding costly repairs due to lack of maintenance over time. In some cases, it might help prevent replacement of your entire septic system, which is what we want to avoid. And we liken it to auto maintenance. Regular maintenance includes oil changes, tune-ups, replacement of worn parts over time, and might prevent a catastrophic failure. Okay, so, and it also protects human health and water quality. A septic system that is failing or malfunctioning can potentially impact your drinking water if a well is nearby, can affect your neighbor's property or well, can be a major health hazard to your family, pets, and friends. Um, and can also impact the water quality of marine waters, streams, and freshwater lakes. And it also helps prevent safety hazards. So a septic system can be a severe safety hazard if not maintained and inspected on a regular basis. A tragic accident involving a toddler falling into a septic system is one example. And this tragedy was preventable if the septic tank lid had been screwed down properly because the toddler was able to get access to the lid. And regular inspections or checks of components that have access at the surface is very important. All lids and access ports at the surface or of the ground should be secured tightly, be checked for cracks, holes, and general integrity on a regular basis, and be replaced immediately if found deficient. It is best if all people and animals completely avoid the areas where septic components like tank lids and are accessible from the surface. Even lids tightly screwed down can be potentially dangerous if you directly step on top of them with your full weight. When installed new, that they are designed to withstand the weight of a human, but over time, due to UV damage, the plastic can become brittle and may not hold the weight of a human or large animal. Putting a plant or other decorative item on top of lids or some kind of barrier like landscaping around access lid areas that prevent people from falling in. And so what are the barriers to maintaining your septic system? Unsure how my septic works, or maybe you don't know where it is located. On-site septic system types and how they work will be discussed later in this workshop, as well as how to find your as-built. Not sure how to service the system. Simple gravity, pump to gravity, or pressurized drain field systems should be inspected every 3 years. Other types of more complex septic systems with pretreatment or proprietary components should be inspected annually. Um, Cost of maintenance is a barrier and fear of unknown problems after inspection. So we understand that both inspection and repairs can be expensive. Okay. Um, okay, I got lost here. We offer income-based financial and non-income-based assistance in areas around Pierce County, and there are also low-cost loans available as well for larger repairs and OSS replacements. Okay, so what happens during the inspection? An inspection could include in septic and pump tanks, liquids, sludge, and scum levels are checked. Condition and operation of pumps and pump controls, as well as alarms, are all assessed. The drain field mound or dispersal area condition is inspected. Riser and access ports are also inspected, and sand filter, if that is part of the system, is inspected. Proprietary pre-treatment devices like aerators, UV lights, chlorinators are inspected for functionality. So, okay, we offer financial assistance. So financial assistance through Pierce County is currently available only in certain project areas. We offer financial assistance for routine inspections, tank pumping, tank lid riser installation, minor repairs such as replacing tank replacing cracked lids, secondary safety devices, which prevent falls into septic tanks, and baffle repairs, drain line repairs, and when they don't require a permit. Otherwise, you'll be talking to Bob if it does. We are actively working to have assistance available countywide to allow financial assistance for inspections and repairs in other parts of Pierce County. Stay tuned. So this is the map here, and you can see we have Gig Harbor. The crosshatch is Puget. It's a program called Puyallup Watershed. So yeah, just contact us if you feel like you qualify. Um, Currently, the financial assistance program is only in the areas on the map. The colored areas have an income verification component associated with it for pre-approval. And the crosshatched area, there is no income verification. Part of it is um, you'll have to voluntarily agree to join the O&M program and be required to get their system inspected on an annual or every 3 years, whatever the frequency is required for your system. And we also offer a reduced inspection frequency program. We have where homeowners may qualify to reduce their septic system inspection frequency from every 3 to every 5 years. You must have a gravity or a pump to gravity system. You can't be on a shoreline or near a river, stream, surface water, and must have a current inspection on file with no deficiencies. And then the owner, you must take a training class and pass prior to approval. So there it is, which I told you already without turning the slide. So, and then these are our upcoming classes. Contact us if you would like to sign up for one, or you can go to tpchd.org, reduce inspection frequency on our website. And these are other assistance options. So 211 helps connect people to community resources, and it's a free and confidential community service. The Clean Water Program from Craft 3 provides affordable loans for septic repairs, replacements, or sewer connections. And you would need to complete their online application or print it. And Craft 3 is a nonprofit. And then there's also a USD Rural Development Loan. And the U.S. Department of Agriculture provides loans in rural areas for septic repairs through the 504 Rural Home Repair Program. And okay, so then here are some resources that will help you. You can take a screenshot of this, and it's you can find your as-built here, your record drawing of your system. If you can't find it there with your address or parcel, try to see if the address has changed over time. Sometimes just putting in the address numbers first without any directionals or anything, that helps. And then you can see your septic inspection and pumping reports on online RME, and financial assistance is available here you can apply, or if you don't have access to a computer, you can give us a call and we can help you out with that. And here's a list we also have a list of certified septic service companies. We always recommend getting several bids and reading online reviews. And not all septic companies are certified by the health department, so it's good to check out this list. And you can see frequently asked questions about septic systems and our health code is there. Whoops. So I will stop sharing, and here is, you can take a screenshot of this as well. And this is Septic Operation and Maintenance Program, and with our email and phone number. And thank you. And we'll have time for questions later.
Thank you, Amber. So that was really to get us kicked off here to really talk about the importance again of inspections. I see we do have a question in the chat. I'm going to try to answer it and then hand off to Bob. But Ron W. is asking specifically if inspections are usually done as part of the routine pumping or if it is an addition. I believe it is, that's the best time to do it, but it's not generally automatically included. You do have to also ask your septic provider to do the inspection as well, if I recall.
The inspection is required, but the pumping is not.
Yes.
So yes.
But he's asking if it's automatically done when they come to pump.
Oh,
no, they don't automatically inspect it, right? So if you call them to get pumped, you would want to then ask them to do an inspection as well.
Correct.
That's what I thought. So I will add that to your comment there, Ron. And again, if you have specific questions throughout, let us know. We are going to save plenty of time at the end to answer questions. But I'm going to turn it over now to Robert or Bob Suggs, who's the expert on how septic systems work. He's going to be telling us all about the different types of systems, how you could spot a failure, and be answering all sorts of questions that you might be wondering about your mini little sewage plant in your backyard. So with that, Bob, take it away.
Great. Thanks, Kenny. As Kenny said, my name's Bob Suggs. I'm the technical lead here in the on-site permitting program here at the health department. And I'm going to give you a quick overview of basic septic systems and what type of septic systems that we have out there. And we're going to go through a little bit of failure identification and analysis and what you can do. So there are four general types of septic systems. We kind of classify them as gravity systems. I think that's pretty obvious. It discharges through a gravity. There's no pumps involved. Pressure system. Okay, now we're going to pressurize the system. Pre-treatment. Well, we don't got just a gravity tank. We're going to do some sort of pre-treatment to the system so the water's cleaner than it would be before to discharge. And then there's mound system, which above ground, when you have very high groundwater, we install a mound. So what are those systems look like? Your typical gravity system, here we have a septic tank, and a septic tank to a large degree is just a settling basin. Water comes in here through this pipe, and it's just water goes into that tank. The tank's always full of water, so don't let anybody tell you that, hey, they haven't, you got to have your tank pumped because it's full of water. They're always full of water. It's a settling basin. We always like to say, the dirty water comes in, the floaters float, and the sinkers sink, and we take the clean water out of the middle, and we pull that over to the next compartment of the tank. Same thing happens here. Now there's no oxygen in this tank. All the microbes that are living in here, they've used up all the oxygen. The only microbes that are left in there are anaerobic. There's no oxygen in this tank, a septic tank. But it does do some digestion, and those anaerobic bacteria, they're going to digest some of the material, some of the solids, and they will turn it into a water-soluble fraction. And that water with those nutrients goes out into, in this case, a gravity drain field, where it discharges into and is leached out into the ground. Sometimes we call it gravity drain fields, leach fields. The next step up is a pressure system. So again, here our first tank is just a plain old septic tank, nothing fancy here going on. The floaters float, the sinkers sink, and now after processing, instead of going out to the drain field directly, now it goes into a pump tank. This pump tank stores up the water until it gets enough volume that it can have what it calls a dose. And the dose volume happens, the pump kicks on, and now instead of the gravity drain field where the water just goes into a small area, the entire drain field gets just a little bit of water. I like to liken the difference between the two as a gravity drain field's like if you take your hose out in the yard and you lay your hose down, you turn the hose on for an hour, it's going to make a mud puddle. That mud puddle is of the size of whatever the soil is, it's 100% hydraulically loaded. That's how big of a mud puddle it makes. That's what happens in a gravity drain field. It goes out doesn't use the entire drain field. It just uses the part that it can take to be 100% hydraulically loaded. A pressure drain field is much more like you take that same amount of water that you had your hose running, but instead of an open hose, you put a sprinkler on the end of it. Now you spray that water all around. You get just a little bit of water over a much larger area. The microbes that are in the soil do a better job of absorbing and treating the effluent because they're not hydraulically overloaded. Not the water's not pushing them down into the soil. The next idea is a pre-treatment system. So instead of our septic tank that we have here before, still have a 2-compartment tank. The first compartment's septic. There's no oxygen in there, anaerobic digestion going on. The second compartment, we're blowing air in there now. Now you got a whole different group of bugs growing. They're digesting the effluent even clearer. The water that comes out here, don't get me wrong, it's not drinking water clear, but it's pretty clear. It doesn't smell like sewage. It's a little cloudy, but at least 50% of the nutrients have been used up in this process in here. So that makes it less work for your soil to do. Now, in this example, out of that pre-treatment, we're going into a pump tank, just like our pressure system did, and we're going to go out to a pressure drain field. In this example, I'm showing you a different type of a pressure drain field, which is called drip irrigation. Drip irrigation is just like if anybody's doing any gardening or big time gardening, you use drip emitters in your gardening. This is the same thing. The water comes out, there's no trench. The water comes out of a little emitter, discharges little drip drops of water all along. So you get this nice even coating of water. Remember, it's the same idea with the pressure system. You're trying to spread the water out so there's no ponding effluent. It's just nice spread out, even wetness. Gives the soil a better chance to do its job of doing treatment. If you don't have very much soil, you got really high groundwater, then we build a mound. And a mound is really just, in the simplest function, a pressure system on top of, here we got a gravity tank and a gravity septic tank and a pump tank, and we're pushing up to a pressure drain field. This pressure drain field is built on top of a mound of sand. We've brought this sand in 12 to 24 inches of sand, depending on how we're building it. And we're discharging that on top of the ground. We've still got to have 12 inches of soil, of native soil. But if you're really shallow groundwater, we're going to build a mound and try to get our treatment out of that. Okay, so those are the 4 basic systems that we use. So now your question might be, well, okay, well, Bob, what kind of system do I have? So how to find your septic as-built. Most houses, not all, if you've got a very old house, we might have a hard time finding your as-built, but most houses have an as-built of what their septic system looks like. So you're going to go to this website, and Kenny will drop this this web address in the chat if you would please, Kenny. And so you can look it up yourself. You'll pull up this website and you're going to enter keywords. Keywords are obviously your whole address. As Amber said, a lot of times you get more you'll get more results if you don't put in your full address. Just put in your house address, but don't put in the street. It gets confused sometimes with, like ST or street spelled out all the way, or heights and HTS. So a lot of times just putting in less gives you actually more results. Like any other search engine, right? It's just a search engine. You can also search by parcel number. If you know your parcel number, you can also search by whoever the original builder was, the builder's name or the original owner's name. If you're on a street corner, a lot of times the original as-built got turned in off of the other street. So try putting in an address as if you were coming off the other street corner. So put in, like, if you're on the 1200 block of 100 of Waller, per se. Well, then put in Waller and 1200 Waller and see what you get out of that. If you don't find anything, there's this blue button up here, submit a public information request. That comes to us and one of our staff will look and see if we can find anything for you. Here's an example of what an as-built looks like. Record of construction, with a modern term of them, we call them record of constructions. We don't call them as-builts. You'll get some sort of a drawing like this, and we hope that you come up with this is a fairly modern one. So we hope that you get a good drawing like this. And this tells you, hey, here's my house, here's where my tanks are, here's where my septic drain field is. Hopefully you've got one that's that good. Septic failure analysis. This is a great example. This is a picture we had from, I keep using this one over and over because it's one of our better ones. We had two neighbors who were arguing about whose septic system was failing. Obviously this puddle was sewage. So what we did, we dye tested it. We put red dye in one tank and we put green dye in another tank, and we ran the pumps to see whose dye showed up in the yard. So what is septic failures? What causes septic system failures? The number one cause is lack of maintenance. Now, this is not as common as it used to be, as our education program here and people are more doing their maintenance. This isn't as common as it used to be, but still that's the number one cause, lack of maintenance. As Amber said earlier, the cheapest system you're ever going to have is the one you got in the ground today. So we really encourage people to maintain and keep that thing going. Anything that's made by man needs to have maintenance. Even the roads need to be repaved every once in a while. So, keep that in mind when you think, some people will say, oh, septic systems, you don't need to do maintenance on them. Gravity systems, they just work. It's true. Gravity systems work right up until they don't. And once they start backing up in the house, then you're usually talking to me about putting in a whole new septic system. So do your maintenance, fix it small before it becomes big. Excessive water usage. This happens a lot in older systems. Newer systems have flow monitoring, most of them do, but older gravity systems, even older pressure systems, whatever water you use goes out to the drain field. If you use 100 gallons a day, it pushes 100 gallons a day. If you use 1,000 gallons a day, it uses 1,000 gallons. It'll push out 1,000 gallons a day. If you go on vacation and leave the faucet running, it's going to discharge all that water to your drain field, and you're going to have a flooded drain field when you get back. Physical damage. Trees growing up in the drain field, wind comes along, blows them over. Physical damage, uproots your drain field. It's winter time and you drive over the drain field with a heavy vehicle and break the lines. Things like that. It's important for you to know where your drain field is so you don't do that. I had a guy recently, he had a sand filter in his backyard, and he was putting up some tents and awnings, and he drove tent stake through his drain field, killed it. Poor installation practices. Older drain fields, prior to I'll say about 1987 is when our codes came in. Our codes for septic systems became a little more scientific. Prior to that, septic systems were supposed to be temporary. They're just temporary until sewers get here. When sewers get here, we're not going to have that septic system. Well, guess what? Most people that have septic systems now, you're not going to have a sewer system. Sewer systems are moving out into the county. I'm not saying they don't build them, but typically they're building more sewers where they're going to build new houses, not where they're going to fix your older houses. Household substances, chemicals, wipes. And the number one thing is do not put wipes down the drain. I don't care how many times they tell you on the package that it's septic safe. None of them are. They just don't degrade. They sit in there and they wind up. If you've got a pump, it'll end up wound up around your pump. It'll clog up your outlet baffle, and you'll be out there having a septic pumper pump it, and he's going to charge you extra for pulling all this pile of wipes out of there because he can't suck that up into his truck either. So he's going to pull those out one by a time. So he's not going to be happy. Biomat, too much of a good thing. Biomat grows in the bottom of a drain field, and actually a small amount of it actually helps digest the sewage. But if you get too much, you give it too much nutrients to load, your biomat gets too thick, it overloads it, and the pores of the soil will get plugged up and no longer pass water. Signs of a failing septic system. Slow draining plumbing fixtures. You got you flush the toilet, and after you flush the toilet, all of the water pulls out of the toilet. It doesn't flush normally. It sucks the water out. That's telling you that it's not venting like it should. You got a sink in the kitchen. You pour water and you fill it up with water. You pour the drain. it doesn't go out as fast as it should. You know, it bubbles, it gurgles, it makes noise. That's telling you water's backing up in the pipes in the house and it's not going out like it should. That burping it's because it isn't flowing like it should. The pipes in the house aren't full of water. People think they are, but they're really not full of water. They're actually a little bit of water in the bottom of the pipe and air is passing through. When water fills up the pipe, it starts to burp and make noise like that. The number one place for it, that if you've got if you start having water backing up, it usually backs up in the lowest point in the house, and that's usually a bathtub, especially if you have a downstairs bathtub. That's usually the lowest plumbing outlet. So if you find water backing up in your bathtub, you know you got trouble coming. You go out in the drain field area, you got wet or soft ground. Now it's not associated with irrigation or rainwater. This is wet or soft ground, especially if you pull up your as-built and say, hey, strangely, that's right where my drain field is. So then you want to go, okay, let's have somebody come out and take a look at that, because you probably have trouble coming. Excessively green grass or heavy growth over your drain field. If it's really, really thick and like 3 times as tall as the grass in the rest of the yard, you're probably having ponding in the drain field. And that's the number one thing that's in sewage effluent is nitrogen. And that's what you fertilize your lawn with. So if your lawn's growing way too fast, you're giving it too much nitrogen and too much water, it's growing faster than the rest of it. A foul odor near the septic system. Yeah, obviously you got surfacing sewage. It smells like sewage. You probably got a problem. Okay, that's all I have for you. I'm Robert Suggs. This is my contact. If you've got specific, go ahead.
I got a question for you out of the chat, and I know it's one of your favorite ones. Dana is asking about Rid-X or similar retail products, and you know, if you could just touch that real briefly before we hand off to Paul.
You bet. Rid-X. Look, the state makes a list of all of the products that you can put down your drain field to supposedly help your drain field work. To get on that list, you have to prove it does no harm. So catch what I said there. You don't have to prove it works. You just have to prove it does no harm. I'm not a huge believer in these additives. I think it's better to save your money and have a septic professional come out every 3 to 5 years and inspect the entire system. He's going to look at the mechanical components. The Rid-X isn't going to help you with the mechanical components.
All right, thank you. My dogs are barking in the background. I'm going to hand it straight off to our master gardener, Paul, to start talking about landscaping and how best to landscape around our drain field. Paul?
I'll make sure things are being shared. There we go. Now we're up. Thanks, Kenny, and thanks, Robert. Absolutely. You don't want to. I don't want to have to call Robert. Do it. Well, let's talk about what you can do around your septic system. Looking at what you can plant, things that you should be aware of. If I get it to work, get it to work. First off, when you're planning, make sure you know components of your system and know the location. That's where the as-built information is really very critical. Protect your components from any damage. And that protection comes from cars, tent stakes, things like that. Whatever you're doing, the drain field is not a place to be playing around on, other than maybe a ball game. Protect your soil from compaction. That is the worst thing that you can do to your soil, is to drive on it, park things on it, build on it, so that you get compaction. Because then your drain field just is not going to work. Whoops. Did I just lose it? There we go. So, and finally, I want you to choose your plants carefully. So why bother to plant over your drain field? First off, it can help mitigate any kind of erosion. Sometimes drain fields are off over toward the edge of your property, and you can if you plant over them, you can protect that soil from eroding. It also at times helps with the performance of the system. And from an homeowner, probably the only sunny spot you've got in your yard may be your drain field, and you want to at least be able to have to play some ball or have some fun out there. So know your components, know whether you have a gravity system, gravity flow, whether you're pumped to drain field, whether you're in mound, whether you're chamber, whether you're drip, whether you're how your distribution works, whether you're doing anaerobic treatment. Just make sure you know all the pieces and components and where they are, because it's critical to what you're going to do with plants. So you need to protect your components from damage. Think of this as a living, breathing, anaerobic waste processing system. It needs oxygen. It works best with dry soil for filtration and where there is no compaction. So the number one problem we find with septic systems is root, aggressive roots. And here's some good examples of some roots. These are some cedar roots that have gotten into this old clay pipe. Here's some cedar roots in a transport line that goes off to a drain field. And here's some roots that have gotten into the distribution box. So it's important that you make sure you don't get yourself in a position where you have to clean out your distribution box or repair a lateral or even replace an old clay system, because that gets a little expensive. Things to avoid cover. Don't cover the ground material, restrict weeds. So putting weed barrier over the top of your drain field doesn't help. That's all that does is restrict oxygen transport and prevents the system from working. Don't plant shrubs or trees within 30 feet of your components. So you're basically trying to make sure their root structures can't get in, and some of them are pretty aggressive. They can. Make sure you don't plant aggressive or woody rooted plants, particularly willows, birch, some maples intruding. They like to intrude into the tanks and tank lines. Willows and birch are really notorious for finding that system. You want to plant plants that like wet conditions. You want to try to avoid. So you're going to look for some other kinds of plants. You want to choose plants with shallow root structures. So avoid woody plants. Will help you avoid future repair costs. And there are some that you should just not use. The right plant actually is very beneficial. It helps prevent soil erosion. It helps generate the soil bio breakdown activity. They take up nutrient, they take up water, from your drain field, which causes some cleaning. And the roots also help oxygenate, but the right roots are what's important. Lawns are your best alternative. Lawns have natural shallow root systems. They can be repaired very easy. You don't have to worry about, if you have to dig it up, you can even peel it up with a sod cutter if you want to, and then put it back down. But that's really your best choice. When you're dealing with lawn care, watering a drain field heavily and is not recommended, especially if you have heavy clay soils. We just want you to keep it as green as you would like it, but don't drown it, don't flush it, don't make it a soggy mess when you're out there watering. Don't use excessive fertilizers or weed killers. That kills beneficial microbes and on your drain field. You can dethatch and aerate to prevent compaction. It helps promote good drainage and good soil biology. So don't be afraid about thatching and making sure that ground out there in your lawn can breathe. Maintain it without excessive fertilizers and weed killers. Again, lawns need full sun. They need to look their best, and they're also the easiest thing to repair if you have them. There's some lawn substitutes that you can use. A good idea. It's a good idea. You can put there's a guy that has a down the street from us has an actual wildflower, you know, lawn out front. He plants it all underneath his fruit trees. His laterals go out underneath his trees, but he mows this down every year. This is just some casual plants that can sit over the top. Lawn substitutes, though, may not take the same foot traffic. They tend to get a little pet wear. They take longer to recover from when your system has to be repaired. They can be taller than grass, so if you don't like that look, it's not lawn. They get patchy, particularly during the summer. They must be spaced to fill in quickly, and they need regular weeding. They need proper irrigation, but they are an alternative. And as I said, wildflower meadows also can work. You can hide your components if you'd like. You can paint them black and brown if you'd like. Here's a picture of a lady who's got a plastic rock over the top of her riser because she got tired of looking at it. Here's a little potted plant that's gone down on top of a green dome, riser dome, just so you don't have to see that green monster out there all the time. There's a lady who decided to get really creative. She does mosaic, and she turned her lids into mosaic turtles. And you can plant around them. The actual lid is right back here. These are some low growing plants. Just know that if you have to get in here, you're going to damage that tank lid. But this is perfectly acceptable as long as you're willing to replace it. When you can, maybe after pumping. But don't hide them too well. Don't cover them with heavy permanent objects. Don't cover them with things like concrete or plastic sheeting. These systems need to breathe. So, when you're planning, make sure you keep easy access for emergencies. Avoid plants with roots deeply or invasive. I live out in the Kitsap County area. We have a hard service requirement that says you can't put a deck or a walkway or anything like that within 10 feet of your tank, just so that you can get things clean, get access to your systems. So there are some plants. Here's some Pachysandra tendrils that are out that give you a nice green ground cover. They're about 12 inches high. You can do that, particularly over a mound. There are rescue mondo grass and other things sedges that you can plant over the top. The roots are very shallow, and you can make a nice looking backyard doing this without much trouble. Here's some creeping strawberry over a mound. Looks a little dry right now, but it still works, and it keeps the mound at least looking semi decent. Here's some other perennials that you can plant over the top. Just know that if you're going to do that, you get to fix them. You get to replace them. Here's beach strawberry that works too. Here's some kinnikinick that you can use it as a cover. You can use epimedium as a cover. It's a good way to just hide the system that you've got out there. The question always comes up: what do you do about gardens? It's not recommended to plant a vegetable garden or put raised beds over the top of your drain field. You need to rototill. You got heavy watering going on. You got a lot of walking around in a garden. Rototilling or double digging, deep digging can cause damage to your drain field. You need regular access. You might want to back a truck down there to dump some compost. It's just not a good idea to do this. Furthermore, the system could malfunction. It does release raw sewage into the soil, and you don't want that around your vegetables. So what can you plant? Just so you know, I gave to the Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department a list. There is of all kinds of plants that you can plant, and if you email them, they will send that to you. But here's a quick list. There's some 6 to 25-foot trees: English hawthorn, filbert, glossy buckhorn, Japanese flowering crabapple. All these have a nice shallow root systems. You can use some other shrubs that are 2 to 15 feet tall that dwarf currant or flowering almond, Japanese flowering quince, Japanese spirea, mock orange. All can be around your system very safely. Here's some annuals, some floss, begonias, coleus, geraniums, lobelia, magnolias, petunias, even zinnias can be planted over the top if that's what you want to do. But you still got to watch your compaction because you're going to want to go out there and try and take care of that soil. And there's a whole bunch more: coral bells, cottage things. There's a bunch of ground covers, you know, carpet beetle, hens and chicks, Irish moss, Scotch moss, things that you can't do. Again, this list is available from the Pierce County Pierce County Health Department. So hopefully that gives you some encouragement that you can do. But we'll take any questions when we get to the chat. There you go, Kenny.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul. Great stuff. We do have some questions in the chat, and I'm going to get to some of those. I want to thank all the presenters first. You know, Amber, Bob, and Paul come back on. And again, now's the time. We have the next 14, 15 minutes to answer some of your questions on anything we talked about today. I'm going to start with a question from Dana, and I think Paul or Bob, whoever wants to jump in here, but Dana's asking, is there a height limit when you're adding new topsoil to level out the yard above a drain field? How much do you want to, do with the topsoil?
Yeah, we actually, there's a code for that. Actually, we don't put more than, we don't want your drain field to be deeper than 3 feet deep. And in general, I will say shallower is always better. Because the deep, we found over the years that deep drain fields, they don't get oxygen. And as Paul mentioned, it's a living, breathing organism there, man. What's going on underground, if it doesn't have oxygen, it turns anoxic and it doesn't degrade, and it'll eventually fail. It won't fail in a hurry, don't get me wrong. I mean, bury it tomorrow, it's not going to fail the next day. But over the years, not getting oxygen into that drain field will suffocate it, basically.
Okay, so you say no more than 3 feet. What's the minimum that we want to, or
minimum 6 inches. Yeah.
So at least 6 inches,
at
but
least
no
6
more
inches.
than 3 feet. That's
right.
Kind of in there. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Paul, this one, I saw you had a slide there about trees, and Michaela's asking fruit trees. Michaela says, I have fruit trees over my drain field. Is that okay? I used to have huge bushes over it, but I took those out.
Generally, you're probably okay. Fruit trees have fairly low and flat root systems. They don't have the deep root systems. You know, I wouldn't start with doing that. If I had my choice, I would plant them somewhere else. They're just sucking up the nutrients. They're sucking up the water. You know, it's probably not in the long run, it's probably not a good idea. But if they're there, you just know if you're going to repair it, you're going to repair it sooner than somebody else's system, because you do have your fruit trees there and you do have invasive roots that are going to reach down into the system.
Excellent.
Hey, Kenny, I'll double down on what Paul said.
Oh,
one thing I always like to tell people about a view of roots and drain fields is in the middle of summer when there's no water and there's no fertilizer. Guess where there's water and fertilizer at 24/7, 360 days a year? Your drain field. Yeah. And once one root finds it, he tells all his friends. And pretty soon they will overtake a drain field in a hurry. Different trees, like Paul's thing said, different plants, different trees are more aggressive than others, but they all will. They're looking for water. And what's the number one thing that's in sewage effluent? Nitrogen, and that's what you fertilize your lawn with, is nitrogen. So there you go.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you for both answering that. We have more time with these experts, so get the questions in the chat. Ashley is asking, besides wipes, are there certain toilet paper brands that we should not be using, or other things besides wipes?
Yeah, you know, I had a lady one time who was, excuse me if I'm not using it right, but some ladies use cotton balls and the like to wipe off makeup remover balls. Help me out here, Amber. What do you call this stuff? Makeup remover balls. They were throwing those down the drain. That stuff's not. Will it biodegrade? Yeah, in about 5 years. Yeah, it will, but it'll take it forever. Wipes is the number one thing we see as a problem. Toilet paper, the type of toilet paper really isn't as important. Almost all I don't know of any toilet paper that says that it's not septic safe. It really is the amount of toilet paper you use. Toilet paper, when it biodegrades, think of when you burn, it's paper, and when you burn paper, there's always something left behind. There's an ash that's left behind. Well, when toilet paper biodegrades, it leaves behind a little bit of ash, right? And so that's going to accumulate in the drain field. So really the bigger problem is with toilet paper is volume. Some people use way too much toilet paper. I saw somebody post something about, I saw it post up and then I lost it. RV toilet paper. Yeah, RV toilet paper is better because what it does, it breaks up easier, and they've tried to make it so that it's very lightweight and it breaks up easy. And because they don't want it to get in that tank of your RV and clog up an outlet pipe, so it goes in the tank and very easily breaks up.
Excellent. So you did answer the RV toilet paper. John also asked, you know, there have been services on TV about an injection system that can restore a septic field. He's skeptical. What are your thoughts about this, or what do we know?
I'm skeptical also.
We all are.
I think what he's talking about is tear lifting. Tear lifting, basically what it does is injects air into the ground and shakes up the ground and stirs it up. So yeah, can it be a short-term fix if you've overloaded your drain field and the drain field's all, the pores of the soil are clogged? Yeah, it's a short-term thing that might help you for a little while. It's not a long-term fix though. If you go back to using the septic system the same way you were, it's going to come right back and bite you. I have seen it work in cases where we have a pressure drain field that's on demand and you are using too much water. We tear lift it, shake it up, get it going. Then we put a timer panel on it so you're not using too much water. Maybe that tear lifting kick starts it, but it's not a panacea. It's not, just not. Good question.
All right, we got more coming in. Susan's asking, what is the best toilet bowl cleaner to use? I know you had a slide all about not using a lot of chemicals, but do we have a preference on toilet bowl cleaners?
Yeah, I don't think I do. Again, it's not that because all toilet bowl cleaners have some sort of a bleach or a non-chlorine bleach, something that they're using. And again, it's not about that you can't use that stuff. It's about how much of it you know. I mean, think about you're going to put some bleach. When you put that bleach in the toilet bowl, what helps clean it? It kills all the microbes. It's killing everything. Okay, that's part of what it does. You put too much of that in the drain field, now you're killing the microbes that are in the drain field. You got to use quite a bit. Remember, you got a 1,000-gallon septic tank out there. That's 1,000 gallons of water just sitting there. So how much, you can do the math and figure out it takes an awful lot of bleach to kill all the microbes in 1,000 gallons. But I will say, there's always the outlier. I have been to a septic drain field of repair that somebody was a little over exuberant with the amount of chlorine that they were using, and yeah, they had a septic tank that was absolutely completely void of microbes and filled up with sludge and pushed that sludge out to the drain field. So again, it's kind of like the toilet paper thing. It's not what you use, it's how much you use it. Use it in, keep the quantities down.
Excellent. And John had asked about bleach as well, so that answers that. We have a couple of questions from Ashley and John, both asking about. Ashley says she's gonna. It's a bit of a crazy science question, but John also says heard multiple people using the same septic system can be beneficial because of different types of bacteria. Is that true? We want to get a few different types of bacteria from different people commingling. Is that better than just one person's bacteria going into a system?
Gosh, I don't think, to a large degree, the bacteria in your stomach is the bacteria that's in my stomach, to a large degree. In specifics, yes, if you get right down to the nitty gritty of it, of what is the biome that's in my stomach, you bet. Everybody's got a little bit of different, but it's similar enough that what goes in the septic tank will work. Now, what does happen, there is a positive side to commingling multiple houses into one drain field, because they have a tendency to flow balance a little bit. So I will say it's more of a flow and flow equalization. One guy may use a lot of water, but the next guy, they use hardly any. So it balances out a little better, but not a biome issue. Yeah.
All right. AB is asking, is it a bad sign when the pump tank alarm goes off after heavy rains? Looks like this happened last November to AB.
Oh boy, yeah, that's a bad sign. Yeah, that's you're hitting me. I mean, I think he already knows. He's asking a question. So what's happening when during heavy rains, one of your tanks or a line going into that tank is leaking. You've got a water leakage that's coming. Your water table gets up high and water's going in. So that water now, it's trying to push that water out to your drain field. If you've got an alarm on it, it's what you've got. That's a good thing, because your alarm's not letting that water go out to the drain field, but it's flooding your septic tank. You're pushing water out to the drain field that doesn't need to go out to the drain field. Better to get that fixed so you're not pushing out rainwater out to your drain field.
All right, thanks, Bob. This one's for you, Paul. Can you grow Concord grapes or blueberries around your drain field?
No, fruit like that should not be grown on or near a septic system. Period. It's just not good.
They get a little aggressive and try to get
They
in
get
there.
very aggressive and they get very deep.
Yeah. Okay.
Grapes are terrible. Grapes are
Terrible.
they're almost an invasive species.
Yeah, very
Thanks.
thirsty and very aggressive.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a few more rolling in, and we're also getting pretty short on time. We got about 4 more minutes, so we'll try to get to everybody as we can. Michaela's asking about putting TBS, I don't know if that's tabs, or yeast down the drain once a month. Microbes.
Don't need it.
Bob's shaking his head.
I'll just make it. We got to go quickly, but I'll just give the short answer. You don't need it. Everything that's going into that drain field is coming out of your body, and it's populating it. There's all sorts of people want to put hamburger, dead chickens, all sorts of stuff in the drain field to keep it alive. It don't need it.
Okay, and follow up to the grapes and blackberries or fruit question, blueberries earlier. How far away should they, if they want to plant them, how far away should they go from the drain field?
At least 30 feet.
30 feet. Okay, solid answer.
At least 30 feet.
Thank you. And then Dana's asking, under what circumstances would the health department not allow a homeowner to repair its septic system? I'm assuming that at what point we would say it would be a failure and need to be replaced. But
there's virtually nothing. I mean, I'm trying to think of what would be when we've never kicked any. I've been here almost 20 years. We've never kicked anybody out of their house. We will try to fix the drain field to the maximum extent we can. We might put in to the point of we might not put in big enough drain field because you don't have enough line. We will always fix it and do the best we can. In fact, there's actually a new septic system, a new type of system out there for really crazy repairs where they vaporize everything. They burn it. Kind of expensive, but I mean, if that's what you have to get to, that's what you have to get to.
Vaporize. I didn't know that word was going to come up. I think those are all the questions in the chat. Amber, I wanted to go back to you just real quickly. One of the things that comes up a lot in older systems, we have, concrete lids that are buried deep down. And you talked about financial assistance earlier. I know risers are a thing, right, that we help out with. People could they have an old system and it's they have to dig 3 feet to get to their concrete lid, they could put in a riser and put that up to ground level, right?
Right, yeah, that's considered a small repair. So if they are in a financial assistance area, we can help pay for that as well. And when they do the riser installation, they'll add a secondary safety device, which, the simplest form is just a little rope cage, or, help me out, Bob, rope catchment so nobody can fall in your system. Yeah, so no.
Secondary safety device. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, we definitely help with that, and it's a great way because it saves on digging costs from the septic company, or having to do digging yourself, and makes inspection a lot easier.
Awesome. And
Mhm.
John and Ashley are both asking about a couple of questions where they might be able to see this later. And I will say we did record it, as I mentioned at the beginning. We're going to post it on our website. We have some older versions. We've done this webinar a few times, and we currently have some older versions on this link that I'm about to share in the chat. But we're going to plan to replace those with this one. Probably not immediately tomorrow, but hopefully by next week we'll have it up and on our website so people can go back and watch this recording. And then Ashley's asking, she says she's a realtor, and if we did this again, when can she invite somebody to that? I know we have another one planned, I think, Amber, right?
Yeah, in October, I think on the 15th, on a Wednesday, mid-month. So also we do give, we haven't done it for several years, but we give Realtor Association talks for realtors to, get educated for themselves and their clients. So if you would like to see some of that, Ashley, we could definitely, just reach out to me, and we can help get that going.
Awesome. Amber, were you going to put your email in the chat here as well? That would be great. It should be A Peralta, right, at
Yep.
tpchd.org. So
That's
thank
correct.
you, everybody. It was great questions. Great back and forth. Great lessons learned. Appreciate everybody. We're going to end this. And like I said, we'll post the recording to our website in the next few days, and we'll have another one of these in October.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.